Nawaz won't return. He will be brought back, Fawad. By Syed Irfan Taza, 29 December 2021. Islamabad Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry on Tuesday said the government would bring back self-exiled former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on to the country as he would never return himself, insisting that the opposition was incapable of toppling the present setup led by the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Speaking at a joint press conference with National Security Advisor Dr. Moeed Yusuf after meeting of the federal cabinet, the minister said Nawaz Sharif will never return home voluntarily. Rather, the government will bring him back once the agreement with the UK government is finalized. The recent statement of former National Assembly Speaker Ayaz Sadiq said he was going to London to bring Nawaz Sharif back had gotten the Sharif family in Jati Umrah worried. Mr. Chaudhry said, adding that the government had finalized matters with the United Kingdom regarding the return of Nawaz Sharif. The opposition parties cannot overthrow the present democratically elected government with the so-called protest movement, he said, claiming that only Prime Minister Imran Khan could act as real opposition. Real leadership is required for agitation in politics, which the opposition lacks. The minister said, adding that the opposition leaders were giving false hopes to their party workers. When pointed out that Jamiatul Ulama Islam Fazl Chief Maulana Fazlur Rahman had given a call for a long march which he claimed would lead unto the fall of the government, the minister said the Maulana had been giving such calls for the last 3 years. Maulana Fazl reached Islamabad with his supporters in the very first year of the PTI's tenure with the false hope that the government would be toppled. Since then, he has been giving dates, he said. Commenting on former Chief Judge of Gilgit-Baltistan, Rana Shamim's affidavit filed before the Islamabad High Court, Mr. Chaudhry said this showed how strong the Sicilian mafia, Nawaz Sharif and family was, as it had even hatched a conspiracy against the judiciary. Responding to a question, the information minister said the government was forced to go to the International Monetary Fund due to the loot and plunder committed by Pakistan People's Party co-chairman Asif Ali Zardari and Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Supremo Nawaz Sharif. He said the opposition should come up with an alternative solution if they had any instead of merely resorting to point scoring. Prime Minister Imran Khan, the minister said, had laid the foundation of a government based on transparency, and the assets of politicians and their families were in full public view. 79 confirmed Omicron cases detected in Pakistan so far. By Ikram Junaidi, 29 December 2021. Islamabad, while the most transmissible new variant of COVID-19 has reached over 100 countries, Pakistan on Tuesday announced that so far 79 confirmed cases of Omicron had been reported across the country, out of which 85% was the local transmission. Dr. Javed Akram, a member of the National Scientific Task Force on COVID-19, suggested that the government tighten restrictions and limit the number of participants of indoor events such as weddings to curb Omicron. A statement issued by the National Institute of Health, NIH, said that since the World Health Organization had designated Omicron as a variant of concern on November 26, the Ministry of National Health Services, National Command and Operation Center, NCOC, NIH, and the provincial health departments remained vigilant to detect the new variant in Pakistan. The first case of Omicron was reported on December 13 in Karachi. As of December 27, a total of 75 Omicron cases have been confirmed, including 33 in Karachi, 17 in Islamabad, and 13 in Lahore. 12 cases were associated with international travel. The relevant authorities have isolated the patients and initiated contact tracing in order to control the spread of the variant, it stated. 4 more cases of Omicron were reported from Islamabad on Tuesday, taking the city's toll to 21. Vaccination and SOPs, standard operation procedures, continue to be our best defense against COVID-19 despite the mutations being reported. All the government-approved COVID-19 vaccines available in Pakistan remain highly effective at preventing severe disease and hospitalization. The government urges everyone to get both doses of COVID-19 vaccine as well as the booster dose as per the eligibility criteria and process. More details are available at the NCOC website, ncoc.gov.pk. And the Sehat Tahaffuz Helpline 1166 statement said, Dr. Javed Akram, who is also Vice Chancellor of University of Health Sciences, told Dawn that according to principle of public health, only a proportion of disease was detected. So there can be some of the cases which could not be detected. As Omicron is the most transmissible variant, so I suggest that restrictions should be tightened. Unfortunately, wedding season is going on, due to which around 500 guests are gathered in a hall, and no one, including bride and groom, wears a mask. I suggest that the number of indoor guests should be decreased. We should sacrifice our desires, he said. People should get themselves vaccinated and strictly adhere to the SOPs. Omicron came from Africa, and I fear that more variants may arrive from there because there is very low vaccination rate in the continent. Omicron is more transmissible as compared to Delta, but luckily it is not as virulent as Delta, Dr. Akram said. According to sources, a person who arrived from the UAE to Islamabad on December 25 was detected with Omicron. Similarly, a woman who arrived from abroad was found positive. Two persons in Barakahu area of the federal capital tested positive for Omicron. This proves that local transmission of the virus has increased. Islamabad District Health Officer Dr. Zaim Zia said Omicron was highly transmissible and suggested that the masses get themselves vaccinated at the earliest. Vaccine is the only shield against the virus as it reduces chances of health complications in case of infection, he said. According to the NCOC data, 291 COVID-19 cases and 3 deaths were reported across the country over the past 24 hours, with national positivity rate at 0.69%. As many as 636 patients were on critical care on Tuesday. Rupees 2 billion pound theft loss in railways every year, says Minister. By Amr Yassin, 29 December 2021. Islamabad Railways Minister Azam Khan Sawati on Tuesday informed a Senate committee that Pakistan Railways PR has been suffering a loss of rupees 2 billion annually due to electricity theft. He told a meeting of the Senate Standing Committee on Railways, presided over by Muhammad Qasim, at Parliament House that electricity was being stolen in convenience with officials of the Water and Power Development Authority, and it could be stopped only by installing over 5,400 electricity meters. The meeting discussed the proposed Public Sector Development Program, PSDP, and the future strategies of Pakistan Railways. Deputy Chairman of the Senate, Mirza Muhammad Afridi, Senator Dost Muhammad Khan, and Mushahid Hussain Syed, senior officers of the Railways Ministry, and other officials also attended the meeting. The committee ratified Senator Faisal Salim Rahman as a member of the Railway Advisory Committee. Mr. Afridi urged the Railways Ministry to launch fast passenger and freight trains as there was a cargo business worth billions in the country, and if Pakistan Railways could get 30% of it, the financial position of the organization would change. While reviewing details of the PSDP's tentative allocation of ₹35 billion for 2022-23, Mr. Sawati apprised the meeting of the strides Pakistan Railways had taken over the past 10 months. The minister urged the committee to fully support the PSDP package so that railways could be revived. He said that if the provinces played their part, the sector could be revolutionized, spreading business and trade opportunities far and wide. He said the Taftan Quetta track would be restored if the Balochistan government gave ₹15 billion out of ₹600 billion, and the federal government would bear the remaining amount, which would also help in development of the province. Mr. Sawati said Pakistan Railways had started a free train service to connect Islamabad with Tehran and Istanbul, and also planned to start a passenger train on this route. He said the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government was resorting to the old track from Peshawar to Torham. The minister told the committee that Pakistan Railways was controlled by the mafia and tenders for more than 1,500 trains were awarded to one man. He informed the committee about plans to develop the Afghan-Pakistan transit trade route. He said that tourism would get boosts if historical railways, routes, and stations were revived. Mr. Sawati invited the members of the Senate and National Assembly committees to visit railway stations and give suggestions for building hotels, hostels, or markets. He informed the committee that once completed, the rupees 220 billion Karachi Circular Railway project would revolutionize commuting in the metropolis. He said they need money. They seed money. The seed. He said the seed money had been arranged for its completion in 36 months. The minister said Pakistan Railways would dynamically pursue the expansion of routes and take these beyond borders. The organization planned to develop Chaman, Kandahar, and Havelia Kashgar routes to promote international trade. The committee lauded the efforts of the ministry despite the lack of funds and assured it of its complete support. Top ex-GB judge asked to become approved in affidavit case. And to become approver in affidavit case. Top ex-Gilgit-Baltistan judge asked to become approver in affidavit case by Malik Asad, 29 December 2021. Islamabad, the principal law officer of the country, extended an olive branch to former Chief Judge of Gilgit-Baltistan, Shamim, on Tuesday as he asked him to become an approver to get himself exonerated in affidavit case. Meanwhile, the Islamabad High Court, IAC, decided to indict all alleged contaminers on January 7 in the case which relates to the affidavit that accuses former Chief Justice of Pakistan, Saqib Nisar, of manipulating judicial proceedings. During the hearing of the attempt of court case against Mr. Shamim, editor-chief of Jung Group Mir Shakil Rahman and a resident editor of the news Amir Ghori and editor investigation Ansar Abbasi, Attorney General AG Khalid Javed Khan said that the former GB top judge was the principal contemner in the affidavit case. The Attorney General AG said that he had not been appointed a prosecutor in the case and he still considered Mr. Shamim a respectable citizen. I think he can clear his position even at this point of time. He then offered if he, Mr. Shamim, is ready to tender an apology, admits that he was used as a pawn and discloses the name of the beneficiary, I would request the court to pardon him. Without mentioning a story published in an English daily that claimed that the affidavit was executed in the office of PML and Supremo Nawaz Sharif, IHC Chief Justice Atar Minallah said that there was some development in this case as well. On the other hand, Mr. Shamim's counsel, Abdul Latif Afridi, said that the news report had been contradicted and his client and Ansar Abbasi could file a contempt petition against the newspaper. Talking to Dawn, Mr. Shamim said that the affidavit was executed in the Notary Public Office in London, where no other person, including Mr. Sharif, was present. Syed Amjad Shah, the representative of Pakistan Bar Council, suggested in the court that after Mr. Shamim had submitted original copy of the affidavit, the court should seek a counter affidavit from the former Chief Justice of Pakistan. Mr. Abbasi argued that the case fell within the ambit of press freedom and expressed apprehension that any adverse verdict would be detrimental to the press freedom in Pakistan. Justice Minallah said that he had never authored any judgment against the media freedom. I do not believe in powers of contempt, remarked the IHC Chief Justice. Mr. Afridi referred to two judgments, one authored by Justice Minallah in the contempt proceedings against a former information minister, Dr. Firdaus Ashik Awan, and another by the Apex Court against PTI leader Imran Khan. In the 2014 contempt of court case, and recalled that in both cases, the alleged contemners were pardoned. He requested the court to show restraint in the affidavit case as well. However, Justice Minallah said that the affidavit had cast aspersions on all judges aspersions on all judges of the ISC. He referred to a pending petition of the Ministry of Law and Justice for implementation of the International Court of Justice order about Indian spy Kulbhushan Jadhav, and said that if they created an impression that courts in Pakistan were compromised, how India could concede jurisdiction of Pakistani courts. Mr. Afridi responded that his client had no intention of committing contempt and was also unaware of consequences. The court asked resident editor of the news, Amir Khori, about publishing a report on the basis of an affidavit which was claimed to be a privileged document by the author. Mr. Khori responded that it was the responsibility of a journalist to file a story in public interest. Justice Minallah reminded him that it was against international journalistic ethics if someone wrote a story to manipulate the pending proceeding. The court postponed further hearing until January 7. Tabling of mini budget in Parliament deferred by our staff reporter, 29 December 2021. Islamabad, the federal cabinet on Tuesday approved the first ever national security policy NSP of the country, but deferred approval of the supplementary finance bill mini budget, which was scheduled to be tabled in the National Assembly on Wednesday today. In a significant decision, the cabinet ordered publication of members of parliament, PMs, to 2019 tax directory and observed that no other sector has as much accountability as politicians. The cabinet deferred approval of the supplementary finance bill today as it wants a threadbare discussion on it before presenting it to the parliament for passage. Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry said in a post-cabinet meeting press conference. He said a special meeting of the cabinet could be held soon on a one-point agenda, the supplementary finance bill. He said the bill would be presented in the current session of the Parliament and an initial discussion on the draft was held in the cabinet meeting. National security policy, the minister said the federal cabinet had approved the country's first ever NSP, which was unveiled by the high-powered National Security Commission Monday with Prime Minister Imran Khan in the chair. It is for the first time that economic strategy has been linked with geostrategic policy, because if the economy of a country is not strong, its security cannot be guaranteed. Until the common man is satisfied with the economic, social, and legal situation, the security of the country will remain in danger, he said. Describing salient features of the policy, the minister said the document would be shared with the media within 10 days, adding that the national security policy focused on the common man. The work on the policy, he said, was started in 2014 and the policy got approval in 2021, which means it took almost 9 years for its preparation after input from 18 different ministries. The minister claimed that there had never been a consensus on national security policy, and it was for the first time that the present government had incorporated points of view of all stakeholders. For the first time, we have passed an important milestone under the leadership of Prime Minister Imran Khan, he added. He said policies of other related ministries, including internal policy and food security policy, were also linked with the national security policy. Speaking at the same press conference, National Security Advisor, NSA, Dr. Moeed Yusuf, termed the NSP the country's first ever comprehensive citizen-centric security policy based on economic security. The policy focuses on overall aspects of national security, and it has been decided that economic security would be the core of the policy. Strong economy would ensure more spending on military and human security, he added. Underlining the need for external initiatives, he said the policy objective was peace, search of peace in the neighborhood and all other countries. Mr. Yusuf said, we are an Islamic state and have an ideology of an Islamic country. Therefore, the policy aspects of national cohesion should resolve around the nation's diversity. All aspects of diversity would be taken along with other elements of NSP. He said human security aspects of NSP had core focus on population, followed by health security, climate, water, food security, and danger and gender. The main points, he said, are like external imbalance, export and import issues leading to increased current account deficit, energy security, and education were included in economy as education's component, namely unity and radicalization was related to national security. And in the end, for my request, if you have not yet, please subscribe our channel and press the like and bell button. Thank you for being with us. Have a nice time. Goodbye.